Tryanek?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Quorum of the Board of Education is present, so the special meeting of Monday, March 23rd, 2020 is called to order. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and face the American flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the School District of La Crosse Board of Education to hold a special meeting on Monday, March 23rd, 2020, with virtual participants.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Rudolph and seconded by Mr. Korberg to authorize the School District of La Crosse Board of Education to hold the special meeting of Monday, March 23rd, 2020 with virtual participants. Is there any discussion about that? So we will now have a roll call vote.
Ms. Como?
Aye.
Mr. Jimenez?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Korberg?
Aye.
Mr. Rudolph?
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Tryanek?
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll?
Aye.
Then I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
A motion has been made by Mr. Rudolph and seconded by Mr. Jimenez to approve the agenda as previously submitted unless there is a motion to amend. We will have a roll call vote for this as well.
Ms. Como?
Aye.
Mr. Jimenez?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Korberg?
Aye.
Mr. Rudolph?
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Tryanek?
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll?
Aye. Thank you. We have no public speakers registered to speak this evening. We will move to consent agenda announcements.
Board members, just one announcement, but it does have to do with two items that are on your consent agenda this evening. Administration, in somewhat of a stopgap measure as things stopped at the state level and we were told to shut down and prepare for all kinds of different options that we may be considering here in the future, administration is recommending that for a short period of time that we pay our employees through April 13th. That would be our hourly employees. And so you have one item in here to pay our hourly employees through the 13th. There's also an item in here regarding our transportation, and that one is also to continue the contract with Rightway until that same date. So that we have some continuity of services, we have continuity for our employees. There's a lot, as you know, coming out, especially from the federal government, that we just want to sift through now and find out what kinds of provisions are in place. And it could mean that we'll do something different down the road, but we think this is the right thing to do, the fair thing to do for our employees, also for our transportation partners in Rightway. We do anticipate that on April 6th, which is our next Board of Education meeting, that administration will be coming back to talk about how this would continue, if it would continue, and what would be the circumstances for continuing, since this is a provision, both of these would be provisions to end on April 13th. Thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the superintendent's consent agenda as presented.
Second.
The consent agenda is a mechanism used by the board to deal with routine business that must come before the board. A motion has been made by Mr. Rudolph and seconded by Mr. Korberg that the items on the superintendent's consent agenda are approved as presented. And once again, we will have a roll call vote since we have some members attending virtually.
Ms. Como?
Aye.
Mr. Jimenez?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Korberg?
Aye.
Mr. Rudolph?
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Tryanek?
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll?
Aye. All right, we will now move to agenda item 8.01, appointment of superintendent of schools.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Aaron Engel as the superintendent of schools effective July 1st, 2020.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Rudolph and seconded by Mr. Korberg to approve the appointment of Dr. Aaron Engel as superintendent of schools effective July 1st, 2020. Is there any discussion? All in roll call vote. Roll call vote.
Ms. Como? Aye. Mr. Jimenez?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Korberg?
Aye.
Mr. Rudolph?
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Tryanek?
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll?
Aye. Dr. Engel, would you like to say a few words? Am I putting you on the spot?
Using social distancing.
We
Thank you all
appreciate that.
so much. I'm incredibly excited by this opportunity, and I cannot wait to get started. And hopefully, Randy clears this whole thing up by July 1st, and we can walk in like none of it ever happened.
Welcome aboard. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
So now we'll move to policy approval, our first reading of the bylaws and rules of order.
I'd like to make a motion to grant first reading approval for the policy approval to bylaws, rules of order.
A motion has been made by Mr. Rudolph and seconded by Mr. Turner to grant first reading approval for policy approval to bylaws, rules of order. Any discussion? If you've read through, obviously this puts into place language for what to do in emergency situations. So moving forward, we will not have to have, at least for the time being, any of us to be present to form a quorum. All in favor? Aye.
But-
Oh, roll call. I'm defaulting. I'm defaulting to the.
Ms. Como? Aye. Mr. Jimenez? Aye. Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Korberg?
Aye.
Mr. Rudolph?
Aye.
Mr. Turner? Ms. Tryanik?
Aye.
Dr. Cooperstoll?
Aye. I'm going to need to get used to that for the time being. I'm going to work on it. Roll call vote for everything. We'll move to announcements. I currently don't have any announcements to share with the board. Are there any announcements from Superintendent Nelson?
Not this evening, it's Dr. Engel's evening, so we're good.
Okay, okay. Are there any other announcements from board members that need to be shared?
I just wish we could shake your hand, welcome you aboard, wave to you something, but welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we going to do a debriefing? I notice it's not really on the agenda tonight.
We can do a debriefing, yes.
I just want to commend, I guess, everybody who worked on the special meeting. I mean, we're working under some very strange circumstances right now. And the two things that we passed as far as paying the bus transportation and the employees, I think puts a lot of people at ease. Because it's a lot of stress in everybody's life right now. And I think our school district has done a phenomenal job of keeping people informed, taking care of the kids. I know I went out and met the van. It wasn't a school bus, for a school bus that delivered the lunches, but it was one of the vans. And saw the people that were working to make sure the kids had their lunch, and talk to them about, how they had all gotten together to help pack lunches. And I just, this is 24 years on the board, the first time I've ever had to do a virtual meeting. But I also appreciate the fact that I can do this from home, being a caregiver of an elderly person. We are sheltering in place. We are not going out at all. So to be able to be a part of welcoming Dr. Engel was much appreciated. So thank you to everybody who did this.
For board debriefing. Yes.
Exactly.
And be kind. Adjourned.